Welcome to Shred the Debt, the podcast that cuts through confusion and empowers you to take control of your financial future. Whether you're buried in student loans, battling credit card balances, or just tired of living paycheck to paycheck, you're in the right place. Each week we bring you real strategies, inspiring stories, and expert insights to help you shred your debt and build the life you deserve. Are you ready to take action? Subscribe now, share this episode with someone who needs it, and join the movement to destroy debt for good. No BS, no judgment, just real talk and real results. Let's get to work. Hey guys, I'm Mike Boone. Welcome back. Like I say, this is Shred the Debt, and I am super excited about following up on last week's episode. So if you missed us last week, we talked about something that was heavy on my heart for whatever reason, heavy on my heart, heavy on my mind. But as I was coming back from California, I was thinking about the fine print and how it was relatable from businesses and to contracts and just everyday life, and then how we have a fine print on our own self. So it all started with the rental car deal and how I felt like I was taken advantage of from the rental car place. Like I say, they made that right, but then I started thinking about the contracts with cell phone companies and just all the fine print and how that is relatable to our lives. And then we kind of tied faith into it a little bit and fine print, and I had a lot of emails. And I wanted to take this show. So this week I just want to do a review. It's almost like fine print 2.0 to a certain extent. But what it is, we're trying to gather these where you are in your mind of each one of these readers, because it's or listeners. I'm sorry, but it's like everybody's on the same page, and it was wild to go through these. So I want to share. There's 4 or 5 of these that I want to go through, and we'll kind of dissect them and we'll talk about them together. But it's really cool, and I was really excited, and it's going to lead us into something for next week that I think is going to be really special, and it's going to be a good learning experience for us all, because we're pulling a little bit away from the finance of make a budget, do this, pay your credit cards, quit loaning money. It's like we're stepping away from that for a minute, and we're looking at the emotional health of us as people. And that's what's really cool, and that's what was speaking to me last week. And now you have spoken. And I want to cover these emails here on the air today, and we'll discuss each one of them and kind of give my angle for the listeners, for the ones that sent these emails, and then also for you as our audience. So the first one here is from Taryn, and Taryn is in Des Moines, Iowa, and the subject is, "I heard you, but I'm still scared to look." Mike, your episode on fine print opened my eyes. I realized I've been avoiding the fine print in my own life, especially my finances. I know I need to look at my statements and agreements, but honestly, I'm terrified of what I'll find. How do you get past that fear long enough to actually read the fine print and deal with it? I'm stuck between knowing better and doing better. That's almost a quote in itself. Knowing better and doing better. That's pretty powerful right there. So, Taryn, when I'm reading your email here, I want to relate it to, let's close our eyes for a second and think back to when we were 6 years old and we were afraid of the dark. Okay, there's something living under our bed. Okay, so we think there is anyway, right? We're afraid of it because it's dark. So if there's something in the dark and we're afraid of it, the best way to confront it is to shine a light on it, or to just turn the light on. Turn the light on. That's what we're going to do If it's your credit card balance and all you're doing is doing, monthly bill pay or something, and you have no idea what your balance is, you have no idea what your interest rate is, you just know that you're paying $25 a month, face it, turn the light on. And once you turn the light on, you'll know what that interest rate is, and you'll know, how long am I going to have this, right? Just be familiar. There's no need to fear. It's just a number. It's a number, and however we can deal with it, we'll deal with it, and we'll put a plan together, and we'll attack it. And that's how you have to do. That's how you have to look at all these as far as fine print. When we're looking at our cell phone company, if there's certain things that are that we signed up for, we need to ask questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question if it has to do with your money. If it's your money, you have the right to ask whatever question you want that concerns you. You are a customer, right? But turning the light on, that's the big thing. Exposing it, being able to have faith, right? You're going to turn that light on and you're going to look under the bed, right, to see that there's nothing worth being afraid of. And last week I talked about this quote, and I've brought this quote up multiple times now, but it's something I keep beside me all the time, and I'm always reflecting back to it. When people say faith, well, faith is the first step, right? You have to have belief. And last week we talked, by definition, faith is complete trust or confidence in someone or something. So that's the number one thing that you have to do, is you have to have faith. So as you turn that switch on, have faith that you can handle whatever it is that you're going to see. Believe in yourself, okay? And Martin Luther King Jr. said it best when he said, faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. So just because we can't see under the bed doesn't mean that we have to be afraid of what's under there. Let's turn the light on. Let's have faith, turn the light on, and expose whatever's there and break it down and understand it. And that's what's going to help you know better, which will make you do better. So, Taryn, thank you so much for that email. That is like that. I'm going to find some way to use that. I love that. Knowing better. It's almost like knowing better is doing better, because it's true, right? The more you know, the more you grow, and that's deep right there, man. That's really deep. So thank you for that email, Taryn, and that's how I would do it. Have faith and trust in yourself. That's where you have to go. So next we have Rob in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and his subject says, the fine print makes me want to quit. Now I get MC Hammer vibes of Too Legit to Quit. But hey, Mike, I love the episode, but I have to admit something. When I start reading the fine print on my bills or contracts, I get overwhelmed fast. It feels like too much information, too many terms, too many traps. How do you keep from shutting down when the details feel like they're stacked against you? I want to take control, but I don't feel confident enough to start. Well, Rob, the confidence, that's one word that I pulled out of this. I don't feel confident enough to start. Well, what I would recommend to you to do, Rob, is if you have a best friend, if you have hopefully someone who makes decent decisions, that's key. If you have a circle of friends, like I used to have a circle of friends that were all good at certain things, like maybe one that was good with finances, and maybe one that was good at pickleball, right? So maybe the one that was good at pickleball was not the best to go to for financial advice. But the one that was good for financial advice, maybe they weren't good for changing a tire or something like that. So you have to know who in your circle to go to. But if you don't have a circle, maybe you have maybe you have one friend, or you have a significant other, that's where you're going to get your that's the confidence booster, right? You have to have someone on your team, Rob, and I'll be on your team. We're already teammates. You've written this email asking this question, and confidence is something that you pull from within. Okay, it's something that's other people can help water it, but the seed is within yourself. So you are the tree, right? The tree of confidence. That's inside of you. And the more people that you have supporting you and providing you with helpful information like fertilize or water or what have you, but that's all adding to your confidence. And the more questions you ask and the more feedback that you get, the more confident that you'll be. And you just have to, if you've never experienced a cell phone contract or something of that sort, ask your teammate. They can provide you with information that helps you make better decisions. It unfolds all of these things that we feel are too much, too many terms or traps. They're not traps. You have to unfold it. And it's kind of like a map. If you're only looking at part of the map, then you don't know the other exists. And if you don't know the other exists, you don't know what questions to ask. So you have to open it up. And the cool thing about having someone else in your corner is some of the questions that you'll ask, you'll learn things about other situations that maybe you haven't even encountered yet. And, with me, there are several encounters of finance that have impacted me negatively over the course of my life. And I could share those with someone who hasn't been in a situation like that before. And that would be experience that they would have based on my experience. So they don't have firsthand experience, but they have the scenario. And if they were ever to get into that position, they would know how I fared from that and what decisions I made and whether or not they were the right decisions at the time, but they would know how to act based on how I acted or reacted. So that's kind of a cool thing. And that's what I would recommend for you to do, Rob, is to ask your circle, get a circle, find a circle. If you have my parents have, they're really, really good with finances. So good that for nearly 30 years, I didn't want to acknowledge their advice because it wasn't fun, right? It wasn't what I wanted to hear. And sometimes it takes a long time for us to grow up and us actually hear what we've been told for so long. So we have to be part of confidence is to be open and to be receptive to what people are telling us. Because if, you can't be cocky. There's a difference between cocky and confidence. That's another young lad story I could tell you. When I was 10 years old, I thought I was the best baseball player ever, in the peanut league. And, my dad told me, said, hey, you're pretty good, but don't be cocky. There's a difference between going up there to the plate and being confident that you can hit the ball or being cocky and automatically just assuming that you're going to hit a home run, because you will be humbled by your 10-year-old teammates. And that's true in life, and that's true today. So there is a difference between confidence and cockiness. So watch the two. And finances can humble you very quickly. I've seen a lot of cocky people who are broke. Okay, maybe they had the fancy car for a little while, but that overconfidence or that cockiness brought them to their demise financially. So watch out for that, Rob. So Rob, thank you for that email, and I hope you can take from that to find a circle, to get a circle. If you don't have one, friends are friends are pretty easy to find these days. You can get on the social media and find a group that, enjoys doing some of the same things you do. Or maybe if you just go and you do some of the things that you're already doing, you'll meet people. Maybe there are people at your work. But just because you have a lot of friends don't mean that you're going to get a lot of experience or a lot of education. So I would recommend you to keep your circle small, and then, you're going to get better guidance and better advice. And that's what makes friendships grow, and that's what helps you become smarter and more confident in asking the questions to help you with these different, terms or contracts or whatever, the fine print in your life. So I hope that helps you. Thank you. So moving on, we're going to go to Alicia in Mobile, Alabama. The subject here is, my fine print says I'm not good with money. Okay, that's direct. Your message about hidden terms really hit home. I realize the fine print in my own head says you're bad with money. I believed that for years. How do you change the fine print you've been carrying inside yourself? I want to believe I can do better, but I don't know how to rewrite that story. Well, Alicia, what you need to do first is take a deep breath and know that you can start today. You can start right now. By the end of this show, you can start to think differently. The cool thing about the fine print that we carry in our everyday lives is we are in control of changing it. And the cool thing about it is we are the only ones that can change it. And we can change our terms. We can change our conditions. And that's what's cool. You're bad with money. That's a mindset. I think that's in your head. What you can do is you can go back, and if you've made bad decisions, go back and reflect on those decisions and ask yourself, what could I have done differently in each of these scenarios? And just knowing what you could do different is what you will do different. Part of a problem, the first part of problem solving is identifying the problem. And once you identify the problem, then you can identify the cause of the problem, and then you can start implementing solutions to fix the problem. So don't sit around in a self-pity of I'm bad with money, and take that as, don't let that define you. Don't let, just because you've made a few bad decisions with money, that doesn't define who you are for the rest of your life. You own the contract. You own the fine print. You are in control of those terms, and only you can change those terms. I'll tell you a story just real quick about a time that I thought I was excellent with money. And I was cocky, wasn't confident. I was cocky. And I remember I was about 22 years old, I think. And I bought a brand new truck. My parents, they bought a brand new truck the same year. It was 2004. I remember the year of the truck. And I bought it. It was a brand new body style. I bought it in December of 2003. And my parents bought a brand new truck about the same time. And my payment at that time in 2003, 2004, my payment was $660 a month for 60 months. I don't know what the interest was on that, but the truck was about $35,000. And I remember my dad telling me, he's like, yeah, he said, if you don't have the money to buy a truck and pay for it, you don't need it. And I thought, man, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Who has $40,000 just laying around? They can just go buy a truck. At that point, my early 20s mindset was, everybody has a payment. If I can make a payment, that's all I need. That's all I need to worry about. And my dad's over here trying to instill in me these same values of if you can't afford it, you don't need it. So I thought I was great with money because I could make a payment. And that's terrible. So, Alicia, just because you see other people doing something, that doesn't mean that they're great with money. They could be terrible with money. I would rather not have any money and not make any, rash decisions than have a bunch of money and make a bunch of terrible decisions that make me have no money. Because another thing, I may have talked about this, like I've gotten a lot of education. If my parents were to ever listen to the show, they'd be like, man, he finally gets it. But my parents one time my dad told me, he said, hey, you know what? You could make $100,000 a year and have $80,000 in bills, and you make 20 grand a year. Or you could make 40 grand a year and have 20 grand in bills and still make 20 grand a year. Have $20,000 in your pocket, the same as that guy that's making 100. And his life may sound more fun, but man, he's writing a lot of checks every month. And that, I'm going to tell you, I have bought brand new things and on payments or on credit, and I'm telling you, having a boat or a jet ski or anything that you're paying on, a motorcycle, and it's December and you're paying that $500 or $600 every month and you can't even use what it is that you bought, you get tired of owning it really quick. Or if some bill comes up, right? These are the kind of people that some unexpected bill comes up and they don't even have any money to save because it's all going out into payments, and then something happens and they need some money. They have to sell one of those things that they're paying on every month because they have to free up some money, and all their money's allocated to bills of dumb extra stuff. So just because people have a lot of things, Alicia, that doesn't mean that they're good with money. So let's change the mindset. Let's believe, let's have some faith, like we said earlier. Just because you can't see the whole staircase doesn't mean that you can't take that first step. And the first step is going to be believing in yourself. And if you believe in yourself, have some courage, right? Be courage. Don't be the scarecrow, all right? The scarecrow didn't have a brain. Don't be the lion, right? If we're doing Wizard of Oz here, don't be the lion, right? You need some courage. You need it, right? So don't be the scarecrow either. You got a brain, so let's use our brain and let's have some courage. And with that, you're going to have some faith. And the faith is that you're going to believe in yourself. And when you believe in yourself, when you believe that you can win with money, you're going to be fine. So let's do that. Let's rewrite the story by changing the terms. Let's have some courage to do that. Let's have courage to look at things differently. Let's not be afraid to look at our finances, and don't be afraid to ask others for insight. Now, I'm not saying everybody you ask is going to tell you the right thing, but you're going to know by what other people tell you if it even sounds right. There's going to be a lot of people that don't have a clue. But if you need some help, I'll try to help you. And that's shredthedebt@gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to help you rewrite that story, because I want you to win. I want you to win with money. I want you to be good with money. I don't want you to have all the stress and all the crap that comes along with money. So, Alicia, thank you for that email, and I hope that bit of insight helps you. Moving on, we're going to go to Greg in Spokane, Washington. The subject is, what if I misread the fine print? Mike, I've made financial mistakes before because I didn't understand the fine print. Now I'm almost afraid to make decisions at all. I second guess everything. How do you build the confidence to move forward when you've been burned in the past? Well, Greg, let me tell you, I've been burnt in the past, in more ways than just finance. But I can tell you that my grandpa told me one time that you can make mistakes and it costs you money. You can have people that owe you money that never pay you. There's a lot of ways that you can be burned with money. What you have to do is you have to take that as experience. Now you can feel sorry for yourself, or you can man up and say, you know what, I made a mistake. I'm going to take this $300 that this guy owes me that he's never paid me in the last 12 years, and I'm going to use that as $300 of experience, and I'm going to put that forth, and I'm going to learn from that. And that's what you have to do. Just because you've been burned, you don't have to discredit and second guess every single thing that happens to you when it comes to finance. So if we're looking at, if we go back to the cell phone, or we go back to anything that has a contract, we go back to a mortgage or insurance or anything like that. If we go back and look at that, we have to ask questions. You don't have to second guess. You just have to be, when you're making, and based on the questions that you ask. If you're involved in something that you don't understand, get someone to help you. Find some insight from someone else, or Google it. There's a ton of information online. There's really no reason for you to make financial mistakes if you're asking the right questions. If you're getting involved in something that kind of makes you feel weird or you don't understand, you may want to take a step back and ask yourself if you should really be moving on with this decision. Don't make financial decisions blind. They could be crippling, right? You could make a decision that could affect your finances for years to come. If you were to have a repossession or a bankruptcy or something like that, those are decisions that are bad. But sometimes people aren't left with any option but that decision. So don't second guess yourself. Just ask questions and become familiar and become educated with whatever it is that you're working through. If you're trading, it could be something as simple as you changing your insurance company. Just because this insurance is cheaper doesn't make it better, right? So you have to say, okay, you have to, what is the deductible? You have to know what is it about insurance that you need to ask questions to verify whatever it is that you're going to do so you don't get taken advantage of. So that's the more you know and the more that you learn, the sharper that you're going to become and the better choices that you're going to make. Now, Greg, I'm going to go back to Taryn in Des Moines, and Taryn said knowing better and doing better. Now I said knowing better is doing better, and that's what I'm gonna tell you, Greg. Knowing better is doing better, and that's a confidence booster in itself. That's how you're gonna get by, and that's how you're gonna do better. So next, we got time for one more, and this is Elena in Tampa, Florida. And the subject says, I want to do better, but I don't trust myself yet. Your episode made me realize how much I've ignored the fine print in my life. I want to start budgeting, cutting waste, and paying attention, but I'm scared I'll mess it up like I have before. How do you find the courage to try again when you don't have a great track record? Turn on the light. That's what you do, Elena. You have to turn on the light. Stop being scared. Find your courage, and don't be afraid of failure. And this is where it's very important for people to pull in and have a circle. If you have a partner, if you have a best friend, if you have someone, that someone can help be your, what do they call it? The person that's going to amp you up, right? They're going to be the guy or the gal that's going to pump you up. They're your hype man. That's what they call it. They're your hype person. So they're going to hype you up. They're going to give you the boost that you need. And that boost is going to come in courage and confidence. And once you believe in yourself and you're not afraid, and when you become confident, courage comes along with it. It's like a pair of shoes. Okay, so the left and the right, one's courage, one's confidence. You put them both on, you're kicking down the road, man. You're killing it. All right, you're crushing life. That's how you do it. You have to put both of these shoes on, because one without the other, it's not going to work, right? And if you don't have either one, your feet are going to hurt really quick. I don't know where I'm going with that, but when you have the courage, when you believe in yourself, the fear will dissipate. When you believe in yourself, you have a hype man. You're getting pumped up. You're going to do better. You're going to do better. For one, you feel like you have to do better because you have somebody hyping you up. So you don't want to let your friends down. You don't want to let yourself down. So once you overcome the fear, the courage is there, and then with the courage, you're not afraid anymore. So that in itself is a confidence booster. So I think you're on the right track. Don't be afraid to mess up. If you mess up, then start over and then learn from where it is that you messed up so you don't make that mistake again. I've had to do that several times. I've said in the past that I have taken out my 401k more than once. And, I put myself in a bind sometime to make up for it because I'm guilty. I feel guilt that I've prolonged my retirement. I don't know how many years, so I'm trying to make up for it. But I learned from it. Eventually, it took twice, but I've learned from it, and I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to go back there. I had the courage. I identified the problem. I wasn't afraid of it, and that gave me the confidence to say, hey, I'm not doing this again. This is my fine print, and this is what I want to live for, and these are my conditions. These are my terms, and that's how I dealt with that. So, Elena, thank you for that email, and I hope you too can overcome the bad record that you have and get that courage up, build your confidence, get your hype man, and go kick its butt. All right. So before we wrap up today, I want to say this. Every email I've read today has something in common. Whether it was the fear of the details, overwhelmed from the information, or a quiet voice in the fine print of your own mind telling you you're not good enough. All of it points to the same truth. Reading the fine print is one thing. Facing it is another. And that's where so many of us get stuck. Not because we don't understand the terms, but because we don't feel strong enough to deal with them. We hesitate. We doubt ourselves. We avoid the hard conversations with our money and with our lives because we're not sure we can handle what comes next. So next week, we're going to talk about the part that comes after the fine print. We're going to talk about courage, the courage to look at the truth without running from it. And we're going to talk about confidence, the confidence to believe you can take the next step, even if you've stumbled before. Because understanding the fine print is important, but believing you can do something about it is what actually changes your life. That's where we're headed next. Courage, confidence, and how those two things can rewrite the terms of your financial future. I'll see you next week.